The story begins in the Silver Dragon dungeon, where two guards watched over the main gate. Suddenly, footsteps wrapped in energy echoed through the dark corridor. The guards quickly turned around, frightened, recognizing Her Majesty. As she approached, she ordered them to leave so she could speak to the prisoner alone. With that, the Silver Dragon Queen Rosweiss revealed her confident face. She then asked the great hero what it felt like to become a prisoner of the Dragon Clan. In response, the chained prisoner asked her to simply kill him. However, the monarch found the request curious and asked if he truly desired a quick death. Then she approached, saying it wouldn't be so easy since he was a handsome and determined man. While touching his chin, she suggested that adding more scars would make him perfect. The hero then shouted for her to stop humiliating him and kill him once and for all. Even so, the Silver Queen proposed that he join the Silver Dragon clan. With a smile, the prisoner challenged her by asking if she was worthy. The question filled the sovereign's eyes with surprise and fury. In a moment of rage, she struck him with a blow that shattered the chains around him. After the strike, the hero fell, coughing amidst the dust. Soon after, she pinned him to the ground with her foot, questioning how he dared to be rude. Mocking him, the woman told Leon Cosmo that his reputation as a hero no longer meant anything. With a smile, she even called him an ignorant loser, declaring that he would die there. Leon then replied that she had taken away his chance to leave a legacy for his descendants. Despite this, the queen found the idea interesting but assured him he would have no successor. With determination, the warrior shouted for her not to underestimate humans. In response, her tail wrapped tightly around his neck. Soon, the Silver Queen lifted him into the air with her tail, calling him stubborn. The young man struggled to breathe, gripping the tail that was choking him. Almost out of air, he still managed to call out to Her Majesty. With a smile, the creature asked if he was finally ready to beg for mercy. Even suffocating, Leon revealed that she had made 2 mistakes from the start. Surprised, she listened as he said her first mistake was being alone with the Dragon Slayer. Then he prepared to reveal the second mistake she should never have made. Leon then shouted that her second mistake was tasting his blood. Immediately, the queen realized she had fallen into the blood curse. With that, her tail released him and Leon finally fell free to the ground. As he backed away, his opponent stared at him, feeling the effects of the curse. The monarch suddenly felt her body heat up, completely out of control. She then fell to her knees, not understanding what was happening to her body. Completely confused, she wondered what the hell was going on. Leon then explained that she would live in the pain brought by his soul forever. Tears ran down the dragon's face as the curse intensified. Suddenly, Rosweiss threw herself over Leon, who looked at her in surprise. With the force of the impact, she knocked him down onto the dungeon floor. Lying on the ground, Leon asked, confused, what was happening. Observing her, he realized the situation was arousing her. Without hesitation, the Silver Dragon leaned in and kissed him forcefully. The unexpected kiss left Leon completely speechless. An hour later, clothes and chains were scattered across the dungeon floor. Soon, the creature awoke, the effects of the curse still visible in her eyes. As she sat up, she looked around, confused, trying to understand what had happened. Furiously, she turned abruptly toward Leon, unable to believe the situation. Then she screamed, asking what he had done to her. Leon then explained that the blood curse creates a soul connection and that when he dies, he will feel endless pain. The sovereign called it absurd, questioning what had happened if the effect was only supposed to occur after his death. With that, the prisoner admitted that what happened was an accident as he hadn't expected that side effect. Immediately, she shouted furiously for him to shut up. Even so, Leon asked with a smile if dragons didn't follow the rule of monogamy. He then revealed that she could no longer have another mate or descendants, as the spell had exceeded his expectations. Then he teased her by reminding her that, just like him, she now would have no successor either. Filled with rage, the queen called him a bastard as energy crackled around her. Calmly, he asked if she wanted to kill him, stating that she didn't need to because he would die soon anyway. Finally, Leon declared that his curse was for her to live with hatred and pain forever. The dragoness remained silent, dressing herself while processing the situation. Then she asked how a human could take revenge in such a despicable way and still want to die. With her hand glowing with power, she called him a scoundrel, incredulous at his attitude. Then she struck him with magical energy directly in his chest. Leon Cosmo was once a legendary dragon-slaying hero. At just 5 years old, he killed a fierce dog and became the apprentice of a passing dragon slayer. At 10, he entered the Imperial Academy, graduating as the youngest and highest-ranked student in history. By the age of 15, he was already on the battlefield, slaying dragons and reclaiming territories for the Empire. Thus, he became known as the strongest dragon-slaying hero and humanity's only hope for victory. But everything changed when he became a prisoner of the Dragon Clan, and 2 years had passed since his capture. Suddenly, he woke up screaming, as if emerging from a long nightmare. While trying to catch his breath, he looked around completely disoriented. With his hand on his chest, he still tried to understand what he was feeling. Then he realized he was in a luxurious and unfamiliar room, wondering where he was. Next, he heard the sound of the door slowly opening. A small dark-haired girl peeked through the crack in the door. With a sweet voice, she noticed that he was finally awake. The hero was completely shocked. thinking about how cute she was. With that, he started to understand everything, concluding that he must be in heaven for his great contribution to humanity. He called her a legendary angel, but the girl asked, confused, what an angel was. Smiling, he approached and asked what the little angel's name was. The girl cheerfully replied that her name was Moon. He thought it was a very beautiful name, but wondered why her hair color was so strange. Moon then explained that her mother said her hair meant the moon, surprising him with the idea that angels had mothers. As he picked her up, he introduced himself as Leon Cosmode, and she excitedly said she knew Leon meant lion. He asked who had told her that, and she answered that it was her mother as well. With sudden suspicion, he hesitantly asked who her mother was. The girl joyfully replied that it was Ross Weiss, leaving him completely shocked. Realizing that her mother was the Dragon Queen, he began to piece together his own situation. With a radiant smile, Moon concluded that he was her daddy. The revelation left him completely paralyzed and speechless. Then the little girl asked if he really was her father and mommy Ross Weiss's before calling out to her mother. The confirmation hit him hard, leaving him even more stunned. Soon, the Silver Queen appeared, and while Moon said that Daddy had woken up, she merely replied that she already knew. With a smile, the Queen confirmed that he had finally awakened. Moon then revealed that Mommy must be happy because she visited him every day. Although the Dragoness confirmed the story, Leon thought that only an idiot would believe that. Next, she asked Moon to go play outside so she could speak with her father. Once they were alone, he asked if Moon was really his daughter, and the answer was yes, biologically. With her tail tapping against the door, the Silver Queen angrily stated that he hated her. Leon stepped back, questioning why she gave birth to the child and why she saved him. The Queen then explained that he had been asleep for 2 years, asking if he thought she would just let it go. Furious, he shouted that he never wanted to do that because they could not coexist, and he would never have touched her under any other circumstances. She teased him, asking if touching her was torture, and he confirmed that of course it was. Immediately, her tail wrapped around his leg. With a pole, she threw him backwards onto the bed. As she pinned him down, he asked fearfully what she intended to do. Without answering, the creature tore his shirt with a single motion. With a magic circle in her hand, she revealed that she wanted to carve her own dragon pattern onto him, making him scream for her to stop. She said that it would make him her prisoner and his greatest shame, as he would never be able to leave her. Then she mocked him, asking what his human comrades would think when they saw the dragon tattoo. As he felt the mark spreading, he asked why she had to go this far. The sovereign approached, explaining that the dragon's concept of revenge was extreme and inhumane. With that, she declared that she wanted him to live with that shame and be severely humiliated by her forever. However, Leon felt something unexpected as the mark formed, because for the Queen, this was a great honor. Thus, she leaned over him and said it was time to begin his unbelievable revenge as a dragon. The scene begins in the Grand Silver Dragon Castle. Their two maids comment that the Queen is in a good mood because her husband has awakened from his coma. Hidden, the Dragon Slayer overhears the conversation and becomes irritated by the claim that he is that so-called husband. Then he remembers how the Silver Queen squeezed him for a whole day and night, nearly breaking his waist. With that, he firmly decides that he will not become her plaything and will escape. Soon, he observes the guards positioned at one of the castle gates. Thus, he realizes it is impossible to leave through there, as 4 dragons guard the passage. Even so, he finds the silence and the lack of guards strange compared to 2 years ago. Suddenly, something unexpected catches his attention on the other side of the wall. Right after, he finds a mysterious hole hidden in the grass and wonders how it got there. Looking inside, he suspects it could be a trap. Desperate, he ignores the risk and decides that the hole will be his only way out. As he enters the tunnel, he bids farewell to the Queen and says she can keep little Moon. Little did he know that the girl was watching him from afar with curiosity. Next, the girl excitedly points to her mother, saying that Daddy is digging a hole like a dog. Nearby, the sovereign watches the scene and agrees that he is incredible. Then Moon asks when Mommy will reel him back in. The woman explains that it is rude to use the word reel when talking about her father. Curious, the little girl asks what word she should use instead. With a smile, the Queen replies that the right word is bring him back. After some time, the fugitive keeps running through the forest. As he runs, he thinks that he will soon reach human territory beyond the mountains. Then he stops for a moment, believing he has run far enough to shake her off. However, his face fills with shock as he senses something approaching. Looking up, he screams Ross Weiss's name upon seeing her flying in her dragon form. Soon after, she congratulates him on being such a great runner, leaving him terrified. Unexpectedly, her tail appears in front of him. Then the creature shows up and asks if it wouldn't be fun to play with him. The dragon seems disappointed and reveals that she helped him escape, creating the hole for him. He admits that he suspected it was a trap, but he didn't expect her to catch up so fast. The winged figure asks if humans will still see him as a dragon slayer with that mark on his chest. He replies that he would rather start a new life as an ordinary person than be tortured by her. Annoyed, the dragon complains that he doesn't know how to appreciate her kindness and prepares to act. With a swift motion, the beast grabs him with her huge paw, leaving him scared. As Ross Weiss takes flight, he yells, asking where she is taking him, and she says she is helping him return. 3 hours later, the dragon flies over the night sky near the border town. Suddenly, the creature drops him in free fall, making him scream in panic. With that, he crashes through the treetops from the impact of the fall. The forced landing makes him hit the forest floor hard. On the ground, he groans in pain while holding his head. Soon after, he pulls himself together and stays alert. Looking ahead, the Dragon Slayer is surprised to see a brightly lit city in the distance. Confused, he asks himself if that is really a human city. Behind him, the Silver Queen appears in human form and confirms that it is the human empire. Then she asks if looking at the lost city makes him think he can simply return. With a smile, she warns that even being so close, he will not be able to go back. Unexpectedly, the mark on his chest begins to glow with a purple light. Then the woman reveals that when a person with the dragon mark feels a strong desire, the other also reacts. She teases him about the heat in his body, and he asks if she wants to do it right there. In response, she confirms that she brought him there to make him understand what shame is right in front of his hometown. Holding his chest, he asks if she really thinks he will lose faith because of this. Then he grabs her and vows that he will wait for an opportunity to repay all the humiliation double. The unexpected attitude leaves his opponent completely speechless for a moment. Surprised, she simply agrees with a slight blush on her face. Approaching him, she whispers that she will be waiting for him alive or dead. Later, near the Empire's border town, the couple sits beneath a large tree. As they embrace with a smile of complete satisfaction, the woman rests beside her exhausted partner. Despite his exhaustion, she claims to be very pleased with his performance. Soon after, the teasing queen suggests bringing him there every month to visit his hometown. Irritated, the warrior gets up and accuses her of being a dragon queen obsessed with draining his power. In response, she prepares to leave, saying their daughter is waiting for them at home. However, he interrupts her, asking her to wait, which leaves her intrigued. Then he declares that as a dragon slayer, he cannot be carried around like prey and will travel alone. Though the journey would take more than 10 days, she warns him, but he insists that she not underestimate human endurance. With a challenging smile, she says she wants to see how long he can endure. After a while, the young man struggles through the forest with great difficulty. However, he soon stops, panting, completely exhausted from the long journey. She catches up to him and asks if he needs help, but he denies being tired. She teases him, saying the only thing tough about him is his stubbornness, which irritates him. The two stare at each other for a moment, tension filling the scene. Suddenly, the young man spots a dragon slayer army approaching through the trees. Because of this, he becomes excited, imagining that the knights might help him escape the dragon. But at his side, the creature's expression turns cold and threatening. Immediately, he realizes that if he calls for help, they will all be killed without hesitation. At that moment, one of the knights raises his hand, signaling the group to stop. Soon after, the squad leader turns toward the couple and asks if they are lost. With a forced smile, the young man replies that they were just out for a walk, determined not to involve innocent people. The knight then warns them of the dangers in the forest and offers them a ride to ensure their safety. Shortly after, he introduces himself as Walker, captain of the 47th Dragon Slayer Squadron. Gratefully, the young man declines the offer, claiming they can protect themselves, trying to make them leave. Suspicious, the captain comments that the young man's face looks familiar and asks if they have met before. The simple question fills the Dragon Queen's eyes with fury. He quickly realizes the danger when he sees her hand glow with energy. In an agile movement, the young man grabs her hand, preventing any attack. To cover it up, he pulls her into a hug and claims that the captain must have mistaken him for someone else. He also says he has a common face, while whispering for her to let him handle the situation. The leader watches the scene, while the woman seems to accept his proposal. With a laugh, the captain says goodbye, saying he won't interrupt their romance any further. As soon as the troops leave, they both watch the wagon disappear down the dark road. With an angry look, a dragon asks if she has been hugged enough. Then she pushes him hard, making him step back. Despite this, she admits that the young man was smart not to ask for help, but warns him about something important. She scolds him, demanding that he know his place, and makes it clear that she never considered being his wife. Soon after, she warns that the road is long and begins to walk. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain and grabs his own arm. With blurred vision, he tries to approach her, even as she walks away. Soon after, his body gives out and he collapses in the middle of the forest. Seeing him fallen, the woman asks, surprised, if he really lost consciousness. With disdain, she calls him a fragile human and releases her powerful aura. After that, she lifts him from the ground to take him back. Transformed into a dragon, she tosses him into the air and gently catches him with her mouth. Then he rests unconscious on her back as they fly across the skies. Flying beneath the starry sky, she decides to interpret his collapse as a plea for mercy. At dawn, the scene returns to the majestic silver dragon castle. Inside the castle, the warrior finally awakens in a comfortable bed. At his side, little Moon excitedly celebrates seeing her daddy awake. Confused, he asks how he ended up back there, and the girl replies that mommy brought him back. With that, he remembers being captured by the queen, feeling like prey. Next, his attention turns to a bandage on his injured hand. Proudly, the little girl reveals that she was the one who bandaged it for daddy. As he watches her, he reflects on how dragons are a fierce and violent race. Even so, he notices that the child shows no hostility and treats him as a father, perhaps because she is a hybrid. With a smile, the man pats her head and says she is amazing, making her happy. Soon after, he advises her not to grow up to be like her mother, which leaves her confused. Unexpectedly, Rosweiss herself appears at the door and asks what is wrong with being like her. Caught off guard, he denies saying anything as the woman approaches with a tray. The daughter then proudly tells her mother that she bandaged daddy's injury following her instructions. Without much emotion, the dragon comments that she should have done it anyway. The girl obediently responds while the father thinks about how strict her mother is. To talk privately, he suggests that the little one go hide in the garden to play. With that, the little girl gets excited about the idea of playing hide and seek with daddy. Then, he hurries her along, saying that he's not like her mother and telling her to go quickly. As he starts counting, Moon runs excitedly, asking him not to count so fast. The man keeps counting, watching his daughter dash down the hallway. Soon after, he abruptly turns to confront the queen. Irritated, he asks if she isn't being too harsh with the child. In response, the woman explains that dragons must be strict to raise strong warriors. He argues that their daughter is gentle, but she counters that gentleness is a degrading word for a dragon. With a smile, the young man compliments the queen, saying she's also pretty cute when she wants to be. The unexpected comment visibly irritates her. Angrily, she grabs his shirt tightly. Then she yells that he is just a slave for her to vent on and tells him to stop throwing himself at her. Her explosive reaction leaves him completely speechless. Rosweiss informs him that, as queen, she has duties and the task of caring for the child will be his. With a hug, she softens and says their daughter likes him very much. Right after, the scene shifts to the beautiful castle garden. As he walks through the garden, he sarcastically reflects on the idea of being a babysitter for a child. Suddenly, an unexpected sound catches his attention from the other side. Soon he sees Moon hiding behind a pillar, thinking she's tricked him. With a smile, he points and shouts that he found her. The girl, however, remains still without reacting, so he watches her more closely. The man then notices the angry expression on the little girl's face and wonders why. Embarrassed, he tries to apologize for making her wait. Unexpectedly, the little girl turns and starts running, leaving him confused. Then he shouts, asking why she is running away. Confused, he wonders where she went as he just saw her pass by. Thus, he concludes that predicting a child's mood is very difficult. He then realizes why the queen left him with the task of taking care of her. Suddenly, Moon jumps on his back and happily celebrates catching daddy. Surprised, he asks her if she hadn't just run past him. She explains that she went out looking for him because daddy wasn't finding her. Hearing her explanation, he wonders if he really saw wrong. At that moment, Moon calls him to show something and he follows her, still confused. From afar, another little girl just watches the scene silently. Moments later, the water from the fountain gently trickled down the garden wall. Meanwhile, Moon hummed softly as she focused on her drawing. Behind her, her father watched with a calm smile on his face. He thought that having a daughter wasn't so bad and felt his soul being healed. Then he promised himself that he would help her escape from the Dragon Queen. Suddenly, the girl ran up to him, showing him the family portrait she had drawn. Looking at the drawing, the man was confused to see two children in it. So he asked about the second figure, and she answered that it was her sister. Completely shocked, he heard the revelation that Moon had a sister. In his mind, he realized that he hadn't hit just one target, but two with a single shot. With that, he remembered the girl he had seen in the garden and understood the reason for her anger. But the little one explained that her sister wasn't angry, she was just shy when she saw him. He reflected that it was normal for them not to be familiar since they had just met. Thus, he concluded that it was that woman's fault and decided he needed to confront her. Far away in the study, the queen was working at her desk. She then raised her gaze from her reading with a serious expression. At that moment, the man burst into the room, calling her name loudly. Unfazed, she calmly asked where Moon was. He replied that their daughter was playing with her sister and questioned when she would tell him that he had another daughter. With a slight smile, the dragon asked if he hadn't figured that out already. Right after, he thanked her for giving him 2 daughters, saying she had certainly worked hard. Then he promised to write her name on the family tree, which visibly irritated her. The queen then asked if he knew why she hadn't told him about the other daughter. He accused her of being jealous of his relationship with Moon and of hiding Noah on purpose. Surprised, the woman asked if he was really that eager to meet her. The warrior replied that he wanted to build a good relationship with his daughters, unlike the cold mother she was. With a challenging smile, the sovereign merely warned him not to regret it later. Later, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows. Then he appeared holding a knife with a determined smile on his face. While chopping vegetables, he decided to win over his shy daughter with a delicious meal and make the queen regret it. He remembered making that stew often in the battalion as its sweet flavor was good for children. After tasting it, he proudly confirmed that his cooking skills hadn't gotten rusty. At that moment, he imagined that Noah would love the food, and he felt confident that the taste would win her over. Outside, 2 maids watched the kitchen scene with curiosity. They commented that the prince was a good dragon for cooking for his family even after recovering from illness. Suddenly, both were surprised to see Rosweiss arriving with the 2 daughters. The queen then dismissed the maids from dinner, saying they could go rest. As soon as they arrived at the dining room, he greeted them, saying they were just in time. Moon ran to her father, praising the delicious smell, and he told them he had prepared stew and steak especially for them. With a loving look, he wondered if Noah could feel his feelings through the food. However, the girl simply turned her face away with disdain, leaving him completely shocked. He was frustrated, wondering why this was so different from what he had imagined. Then, he mentally accused Rosweiss, convinced that she had predicted this outcome and prevented him from meeting Noah for that reason. Firmly, the woman instructed the daughter to formally introduce herself to her father. The girl then introduced herself as Noah K. Melf, daughter of the Silver Dragon Queen Rosweiss. Trying to get closer, the warrior politely introduced himself as Leon Cosmo, her father. The girl's response, however, was one of total indifference. Awkwardly, he wondered if the child held some grudge against him. Sensing the situation, Moon whispered to her sister to speak more so she wouldn't embarrass Daddy. With her arms crossed, Noah doubted that he was really her father, saying he looked far too weak. Those words hit him hard, and he felt the full impact of her question. Wounded, he thought to himself that he had a wild daughter and was facing his first crisis as a father. The family dinner, which should have been a pleasant occasion, became the most tense moment of Leon's life. Though they looked alike, he noticed that his daughters had opposite personalities, with Noah being just like her mother. With a hopeful smile, he asked his eldest daughter if the food he had prepared was good. Noah replied that it wasn't, complaining that the meat was tough and hard to chew, which hit him hard. Seeing the scene, the queen couldn't hold back a discreet laugh. When Moon asked why she was happy, the woman replied that it was because the family was gathered together. Soon after, she teased her companion, asking if he wasn't happy too, and he awkwardly agreed. Moon then asked if Daddy could have dinner with them every day, and he agreed, though reluctant deep down. But the older sister interrupted the conversation, shouting that she didn't want that. The younger sister asked why, and Noah explained that she wanted to study at the Young Dragons Academy as soon as possible. Rosweiss reminded her that the department was for older dragons and asked why she was in such a hurry. The girl then declared that she wanted to start defeating dragon hunters right away, leaving her father stunned. He quickly realized in shock that the girl wanted to defeat him, her own father. With that, he tried to warn her that those warriors were strong and that it would be dangerous for her. Noah snapped back, saying not to treat her like a child, while he thought that she truly was one. The queen agreed with her daughter's idea, saying that the sooner she learned, the faster she could fight. Then she challenged the man to give a reason to stop Noah from going to the school. Realizing that opposing them would only make his image worse, he decided to change tactics. So he reluctantly agreed, saying it was fine by him. At that moment, he understood Rosweiss's true intention. He pictured her as a giant monster, realizing that she was using their daughter to mentally attack him. While promising himself to get revenge, the woman declared that he would help Noah prepare for the exam in a month. Excited, the girl immediately agreed to her mother's orders. As soon as dinner ended, Moon happily showed off her full belly to her sister. After the girls left, he turned to Rosweiss and called her. Then he said they needed to wash the dishes, leaving her confused by the request. She replied that the servants would take care of that. He explained that the proper way to end a family dinner was for the couple to clean everything together. Whispering, he asked if she didn't want to create a harmonious family environment for their daughters, even if it was all a lie. Looking back, Rosweiss saw their youngest daughter watching them with eyes full of hope. Seeing the girl's gaze, the queen reluctantly agreed to the idea. Hearing her response, Moon excitedly offered to help too. Noah then firmly grabbed her sister's hand. Next, she pulled Moon away, saying that the girl was coming with her. With the two girls gone, the kitchen fell silent, leaving only the dirty dishes in the sink. Rosweiss turned to her companion and asked when he planned to start helping. With a confident smile, he asked if she had forgotten what he told her 2 years ago. He quickly reminded her of his warning never to be alone with a strong dragon hunter, which left her surprised. Suspicious, the queen asked what he was planning to do. He replied that unlike last time, he wouldn't let himself be manipulated by her. Furious, the woman attacked him with her tail, questioning if he thought he could escape. However, he easily blocked the strike with just his hand. He grabbed her tail and asked who said he wanted to escape. The queen let out a cry of surprise at the sudden and unexpected touch. The pull threw her off balance, making her fall to her knees, completely shocked. Then, the man revealed that he had read about the dragon tail's weakness, asking with a smile if she couldn't do anything now. Soon after, he approached and commented that dragons are always eager to conquer and control everything. Finally, he asked if they had ever been controlled themselves, leaving her completely speechless. Despite her heavy breathing, Rosweiss remained completely flushed on the floor. Right after, she demanded that he release her tail. In revenge, Leon reminded her how he had been humiliated purely for her pleasure. With that, he suggested they try something different, provoking a flood of insults from her. Quickly, the woman reacted, trying to break free. Meanwhile, two maids wondered whether the prince's night had finally ended. Soon after, they entered the kitchen, surprised by how clean it was, and questioned whether the prince was responsible. One of them smiled, enchanted by a perfectly clean dish. Through the crack in the door, the dragon silently watched their conversation. Immediately, he silenced her, warning that the maids could not see her in that situation. Right after, the kitchen door closed. The young woman glared at him furiously. He approached, stating that now they could begin. His gaze was firm and determined, At that moment, her eyes seemed helpless. 3 days later, in the kingdom's vast castle, curious, Moon asked if their father was dead from sleeping so much, but No decided to investigate immediately. A small kick landed on the sleeping man's face, making him feel the pain of the blow. Thus, No confirmed that he was alive, leaving him shocked at how he was being treated. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the younger girl startle when she realized he was awake. Immediately, the little one ran off to tell Rosweiss. While the man tried to understand when exactly he had passed out, the woman simply asked if he really needed to be reminded of what had happened. With that, Leon recalled that he had been knocked out with a single punch that night. Sitting on the bed, he reflected that any ordinary person would have died from such cruelty. Even so, he admitted that she was very beautiful and didn't look her age. The girls then asked what was wrong, but No said he was only staring at their mother. Discreetly, Rosweiss knocked over a flower ornament on the vanity with her hand. The sudden movement made the warrior turn toward her. Then he picked up the delicate accessory. With a calm gesture, he placed the ornament in her hair, saying that it suited her very well. She then asked him how many women had heard that same line. The dragon replied that when he was a boy, he only knew how to take care of his uncle's donkey. Curious, Moon asked her father what a donkey was. He then described it as an animal with big ears that complains a lot, just like their mother. The comparison made the woman glare at him furiously. Soon after, she struck him with a strong punch to the stomach. The daughters asked if their father was okay, and he replied yes, still in pain. The matriarch then announced that he would teach the girls how to write, making him complain for not being consulted first. Moon celebrated the news, while No declared she could do it by herself. Soon after, both ran off to the library to find a pencil, and No chose the color purple. Alone with the dragon, Rosweiss informed him that her sister would be visiting and could not see the daughters. He then asked why, wondering if her family didn't want to meet them. With that, the woman explained that he was now Leon Cosmo, a dragon who had awakened after 2 years. Finally, she ordered him to memorize the surname in case he encountered her sister. He simply confirmed that he understood Her Majesty's orders. As he watched her leave, he wondered whether the queen truly believed he would obey her. On the contrary, he decided that he would make her suffer the greatest humiliation in front of her sister. In the study room of the Silver Dragon Temple, the lesson was beginning. Leon then demonstrated to his daughters how they should write, asking them to pay close attention. Right after, he showed them the written names and asked them to memorize the writing before practicing. However, No complained that his handwriting was ugly, claiming that their mother's was much prettier. Moon asked what he would do, and the dragon replied that he needed to return something to their mother. As he left, he warned that he would come back to check their work, making Noah wonder if he was an idiot. Her sister commented that he seemed happy, but the little silver-haired girl denied it, admitting that at least he wrote quickly. Even so, she couldn't hide a slight blush on her face. Meanwhile, at the city gate of the Silver Dragon Temple, an important visitor was arriving. The newcomer was Isabel Melqui, Queen of the Red Dragons. Right after, she hugged Rosweiss, happy to see her sister again after so long. The visitor commented that it had been a year since they last met and said that the other looked healthier. With that, she asked why her husband wasn't there since she had heard that he had awakened. Rosweiss lied, saying that he wasn't feeling well, and the queen expressed regret at not being able to meet the dragon who had won her sister's heart. Finally, she teased that they must get along well to have had children so quickly. Her sister denied having any feelings for him, claiming that the marriage meant nothing. Isabel simply remarked that she was still the same proud person as always. Then the hostess suggested they go to the garden to talk while they walked. From afar, the two walked side by side, holding each other closely. From a window, the prisoner watched them through a telescope, identifying Rosweiss's sister. With a determined look, he decided it was time to test the influence of the dragon mark. Meanwhile, Isabel spoke about the recent instability in the territory of the Fire Dragon King. Upon hearing this, Rosweiss remembered a name, Constantine, as the image of a fire dragon appeared in her mind. She asked if he had disappeared, but her sister speculated that he might be trying to expand his territory. Suddenly, a mark on her chest glowed intensely, causing her a sharp jolt. At that exact moment, she felt a strange connection forming. Isabel asked if something had happened, but the warrior covered it up and asked her to continue the conversation. In her thoughts, she cursed Leon, knowing he was the cause of that feeling. Soon after, she suggested reinforcing the border defenses to prevent any incident. With that, she felt the dragon mark's effect growing stronger in her body. Her sister noticed that she was sweating and asked if she was feeling alright. Rosweiss then made up an excuse, saying she had to deal with an important matter and would return in 20 minutes. When Isabel offered to accompany her, she refused, saying it wasn't necessary. The queen figured it was the dragon mark, commenting on how young people these days love to play around. Meanwhile, Leon relaxed in his chair, wondering how long Rosweiss could endure. Soon after, she burst into the room, shouting his name, leaving him surprised at how quickly she had returned. She grabbed him and asked if he had made the mark resonate on purpose to embarrass her in front of her sister. The man pretended to be innocent, asking if it was his fault for missing her. His words left her completely speechless. The sudden comment left her startled and deeply blushing. Liam realized the effect was good because at least he had managed to land a blow on her. Rosweiss scolded him, telling a prisoner not to be shameless and to keep his thoughts to himself. In her mind, she admitted she had been fooled by his words when she was planning to beat him up. She then warned him that he was spared this time, but the dragon merely teased her by making a face. Reflecting, he realized that with just one sentence, he left the woman speechless, proving the power of the dragon mark. However, he wondered why his heart pounded harder every time he thought about her. Immediately, he scolded himself, telling himself to stop thinking about such horrible things. Then he remembered that the girls were waiting for him while Moon wondered why he wasn't coming back. At the gates of the city of the Silver Dragon Temple, Rosweiss's sister says her farewell. With a wave, she announces that she is already leaving. Then Rosweiss smiles and asks her sister to be careful on the way. Already in dragon form, the visitor insists on meeting her sister's husband, and Rosweiss promises to introduce him next time. Soon after, she flies away into the night sky. The Silver Queen watches her leave with a serious expression. After that, she angrily thinks that she will teach the dragon hunter a good lesson. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Leon suddenly sneezes. Reading a book, he wonders if the dragon woman is speaking ill of him. At that moment, he notices that Moon and Noah have already fallen asleep in bed. Carefully, he adjusts the blanket over them so they won't feel cold. Then he leaves the room silently so as not to wake them. As soon as he tries to leave, a hand slams the door shut in front of him. Rosweiss stops him from leaving while he asks if her sister is already gone. Irritated, she reminds him that they still have unfinished business today. The sovereign drags him down the hallway by force, ignoring the prisoner's desperate protests. Soon after, they arrive at the luxurious room of the Queen of the Silver Dragons. Then a wooden basin with hot water is placed on the floor. Leon then brings the water, asking what she needs it for. The woman replies that she is tired and orders him to help her wash her feet. The unexpected order leaves him completely astonished. Still, she insists that he obey, claiming it as punishment for what happened earlier. Reluctantly, the former hunter kneels, feeling humiliated to be serving a dragoness. As he holds the woman's foot, he wonders how many hunters she has already trampled. Rosweiss becomes confused, wondering why he is just standing there admiring her feet. Blushing, she questions herself he might have a foot fetish. Impatient, she demands that he put her foot in the water already. Then her feet are submerged in the basin of hot water. Suddenly, the queen screams that the water is too hot and kicks him in the face. From the impact, Leon is thrown backward. She accuses him of trying to take revenge with the excessively hot water. With a provocative smile, he reminds her that she was the one who asked for his help washing her feet. Rosweiss claims that he seems not to have learned his lesson. With her foot on his chest, she asks if he ever thought he would be trampled by a dragon. Then she wonders what would happen if she pressed a specific point. The strong pressure makes him grimace in pain and discomfort. Leon asks her to stop, while feeling a strange mix of shame and pleasure. With that, the dragoness challenges him, wanting to see how long he can endure it. Even so, he decides that he will not surrender to that woman's tyranny. With a swift movement, he firmly grabs her foot. Leon then comments that he has eaten many kinds of legs but never dragons. The threat leaves Rosweiss shocked, unsure of what he will do next. Soon after, he bites her leg, declaring that he would eat raw dragon claws. A furious scream echoes through the castle, with the queen promising to kill Leon Cosmode. The next day, Noon wakes up still sleepy in bed. Curious, she asks her mother why she is limping, but Rosweiss only replies that it is nothing. Soon after, she asks Leon about the bandage on his face, hearing the same evasive answer. The girl's expression becomes confused at their replies. With that, she cheerfully concludes that it was a fun game and also wants to take part. In the garden surrounding the Silver Dragon's castle, Leon and Rosweiss walk in silence. Ahead, the woman walks with an irritated expression while he follows closely behind. From a distance, two maids observe them, thinking the scene resembles a romantic date. However, one of them finds it strange that the queen and the prince do not seem close. Rosweiss continues her walk without saying a word. The man also seems uncomfortable with the situation. With that, he breaks the silence and questions her about the reason for this walk. Moments earlier, he had refused to go out for a walk with her. The dragoness then explained that they needed to maintain the facade of a harmonious family for the people. Back to the present, he thinks she's acting strangely and wonders what she is plotting. Hidden, Noon comments that her father is so slow that he doesn't even know how to hold her mother's hand. Determined, she decides she will help even with Noah trying to stop her. Without hesitation, she runs towards them, while her sister pleads for her to leave him alone. Suddenly, the little girl appears behind the couple, and Leon asks, surprised, how she got there. Moon then grabs one hand from each of them and joins the two together. Then, she explains that to take a walk, they need to hold hands. Hidden, the girls find the couple way too sweet, and No concludes that it is their mother who doesn't fit in. The man then reflects that he didn't expect holding hands would affect Rosweiss so much, thinking that she doesn't know how to get close to the girls. Then he comments that sometimes they call her mother, and Rosweiss asks if there's anything wrong with that. He explains that normally they would say mommy along with daddy, and the way they say it sounds distant. The Silver Queen becomes confused, questioning if there really is a big difference between the terms. With a smile, the hunter suggests they try to get the girls to call her mommy to feel closer. The suggestion leaves Rosweiss completely surprised and speechless. She then decides they will try that from now on, and he complains about being pulled to walk faster. As they walk, Rosweiss asks if he misses home, saying she has something to ease his nostalgia. Then she leads him to a storage building located behind the mountain of the castle. Leon asks what kind of place it is, and she replies that she hasn't named it. As she unlocks the door, she says he can call it a storage room or a back room. As soon as the door opens, she states that the name doesn't matter. When they enter, Leon is impressed with the place and asks if it's a dragon's storeroom. Next, he notices a bracelet his grandmother gave him, commenting that it would be worth a fortune in the Empire. Rosweiss then explains that some items are meaningful to her, while others are just war trophies. Later, he asked about her family, and the Silver Queen reveals that she and her sister were raised by their grandmother. Leon adds that he also grew up in an orphanage and was adopted by his master. Curious, he asks what she really wanted to show him there. The woman approaches a chest, claiming that its contents will help him forget his worries. When she opens the chest, Leon is shocked to see his black and gold armor. Rosweiss then asks if he hadn't always wanted to recover that armor. In disbelief, he wonders if he's dreaming and if she's really going to return it to him. With a mischievous smile, she confirms that she is. However, as soon as he touches the armor, a seal of magical runes shines brightly. Leon notices the runes and laments that his old friend has fallen so far. With a victorious air, Rosweiss reveals that he has finally fallen into her trap. As the energy surrounded him, Leon asked angrily what Rosweiss had done. With a smile, she revealed that she had placed a dragon mark on the armor, activated by his touch. Then the prisoner's hand convulsed as the effect began. He grabbed his chest, regretting that he had trusted that dragon. With a satisfied smile, the queen remarked that the mark's effect would double. Soon after, she grabbed his chin and teased him, asking if he could handle it. With difficulty, the warrior clenched his teeth while trying to say her name. With that, he was pushed backward, completely losing his balance. Pinned to the ground, he felt an intense urgency take over his body. Rosweiss revealed that she had been searching for ways to make him lower his guard, as she hadn't expected him to fall so easily. Surprised and speechless, Leon could only stare at her, his face flushed. With a victorious air, she then asked if her performance had been convincing. He asked in shock if everything she had said about her family and holding hands was a lie. As she approached, Rosweiss stated that it was all true, but that didn't change her plans for him. Finally, she touched her own body and reminded him of what he had said before. The Silver Queen reminded him that he had said she liked being in charge. With a smile, she confirmed that she really did like to be in control. Then she asked if her dear husband was ready before kissing him, making him curse. The large storage room doors closed, sealing the fate of the dragon hunter. After a few hours, he cried out of relief, thinking that it was finally over. Lying beside him, Rosweiss watched him with a satisfied expression. Irritated, Leon asked what she wanted now. Holding his chin, she commented that his scars had faded and that he had a more mature look. The prisoner then protested angrily, stating that he wouldn't fall for her trap again. As she got dressed, the woman admitted with a smile that he had also become smarter. However, she paused, making Leon uneasy. With a mischievous smile, she finished by saying that his body had deteriorated a lot. Confused, he could only ask what that meant. Her statement that his body had decayed left him completely shocked. The repetition of the phrase left him frozen in complete despair. The humiliation continued as the queen's words echoed in the prisoner's mind. The next day, a new dawn rose over the vast castle. With an exhausted appearance, Leon opened the door and asked who was there. On the other side, Rosweiss greeted him with a good morning, while Noah waited silently. With a teasing smile, she remarked that he didn't look like he had slept well. Leon then asked whose fault that was, but the woman pretended not to remember anything. Watching the scene, the little girl just thought that they had already started arguing again. Rosweiss then informed him that he needed to give no lessons for the Academy's strict test. Next, she teased him by saying that after yesterday, he could only prove his worth in other areas. Furious, Leon protested that the previous night he just hadn't been in good shape. Then he promised he would make no pass the test, but demanded something in return. The Silver Queen accepted the deal, but on the condition that his request wouldn't be excessive. With a determined look, the dragon agreed to the proposal, sealing the deal. Rosweiss wished them good study and told him not to push himself too hard, leaving him irritated. Noah then asked why he argued with Mommy, and Leon replied that it was just their way of talking. Surprised, he asked the girl what she had just called Rosweiss. Innocently, the little girl simply repeated the word Mommy, holding her book. Then he asked if she preferred calling her that, and Noah timidly confirmed that she did. With a satisfied smile, Leon celebrated, having guessed that she would like it. In response to his reaction, the little one just stayed silent, a bit embarrassed. Soon after, she said it was time to study and began to walk, making her father ask her to slow down. Although they were in the study room of the Silver Dragon's castle, two little creatures were making themselves known. Nearby, the young man was focused on his studies, However, the Valkyrie approached and asked why he hadn't gone to sleep yet. Because simple lessons weren't enough for Noah, he explained that he was preparing a special study plan for her. Thus, he claimed to be sure that the girl would pass the test with only 1 month of study. In response, the woman proudly said that the girl took after her. But he looked at her with a smile and said he seriously doubted that. Right after, he boasted about having graduated as a genius and having won all the school's honors. Moreover, he asked what awards the queen had won, leaving her speechless. Still surprised, the warrior reflected, not imagining that he was so intelligent as well as strong. Even so, she teased him about how he ended up as her prisoner, making the young man shout that he had only lost once. As he lamented his misstep, the blonde mocked him, saying that the queen stepped on him. Then she noticed a plate of peppers on the table. Curious, she asked what he was going to do with them. So the young man replied that he had brought them from the kitchen to stay awake. However, she warned him that those were yellow peppers from the dragon clan and that he wouldn't handle them. Still, he ate the pepper, and his reaction was immediate. Soon, he screamed that it was way too spicy. With his mouth on fire, he started desperately searching for water in the room. Then the woman held his face to calm him down. Immediately, he was surprised and speechless at the unexpected touch. A little embarrassed, she explained that she thought her cold hands might make him feel better. With that, the young man noticed that her fingertips were cool and pleasant. Feeling the touch, he realized how soothing it was. Soon after, he thanked her, saying he was already feeling better, and she stepped back. After the moment passed, they were both visibly embarrassed. Finally, the Valkyrie ordered him to go to bed, warning him not to eat any more peppers. As he watched her leave, he thought that for a moment he had wanted her to touch his face more. But he quickly grew irritated, remembering that he had been tricked by that evil dragon. Even so, he returned to his books, determined to find a way to recover. Then he flipped through a book, dismissing the red dragon fruit and the Ling Yu herb, until his eyes fixed on a page describing the dragon big force. With a smile, he realized that he had finally found what he needed. The next day, he informed the girl that he had already corrected her practice test. She then made a guess of 50 points. With a smile, he showed her the result, 62 points, a little above what she expected. Despite this, the little one clenched her fists, visibly dissatisfied. For the young man understood that she had high expectations for herself. Still thinking, he noticed that unlike Moon, this girl had chosen to study instead of playing. To encourage her, he patted her head and said that 62 points was a very good result. In this way, she thanked him and said that now they should focus on the wrong answers. Soon after, he had a coughing fit, so he apologized and explained that his throat was irritated because of the peppers from yesterday. Meanwhile, the blonde showed up to see Noah and told her that her father had worked all night. Thus, she revealed that to stay awake, he had eaten super spicy yellow peppers. Then the girl surprised him by holding out a small container and telling him to take it. Surprised, he asked if it was for him, and the young girl confirmed, explaining that it was his wife who had sent it. With a smile, he asked her to thank her mother for him, wondering how that woman could be so kind. Then he cheerfully suggested that they continue studying, bringing father and daughter closer together. Sometime later, in the kitchen of the Silver Dragon's castle, everything was prepared. Soon, 2 maids entered with all the requested ingredients, and the young man told them to leave them there. Meanwhile, he thought to himself that he had asked for irrelevant items so they wouldn't guess his plan. Furthermore, he reflected that despite using common ingredients, the success rate of the potion was very low. First, he began the process by grinding and mixing all the necessary components. Then he added them in order into a pot to cook. Hours later, he was frustrated to realize that he had failed once again. He still regretted having followed the book's methods several times, always failing at the purification step. The separation method described using high heat could easily nullify the medicine. Therefore, he concluded that he needed a more effective way to separate the medicinal residues. At that moment, a lightning bolt cut through the sky outside. Sitting in a chair, he looked out the window and remarked that it was going to rain soon. However, when he looked again at the flash of light, he had a sudden idea. He remembered his alchemy teacher saying that electrolysis sometimes succeeded where fire failed. Excited, he decided to try distilling using his magic, but questioned its efficiency given his still limited power. Even so, he claimed to have enough control to use his magic precisely. Half an hour later, he held a small pill and celebrated his success. With a satisfied smile, he concluded that preparing dragon medicine was simple. Suddenly, his daughter appeared and asked what Daddy was doing. Immediately, he froze for a moment, surprised by her presence. Startled, he shouted her name when he noticed her. He tried to cover it up, but the little girl asked if Daddy was hiding candy. Quickly, he explained that it was medicine for her mother, making the girl ask if Rosewasi was sick. He reassured her, saying it was just to help her recover from exhaustion, although he had made it for himself. Moon then happily asked her father to take good care of Mommy. He agreed, thinking that he would definitely take care of her when he fully recovered. Meanwhile, a heavy storm fell over the castle. Back in his room, the alchemist wondered about the side effects of the supplement on humans. Therefore, he decided to leave it aside for now, frustrated by the situation. At that moment, a noise at the door caught his attention. Surprised, he asked the Majesty what she was doing in his room. The visitor revealed that she had heard from their daughter that he had prepared a special medicine for her health. Embarrassed, he thought about how his little dragon could gossip so quickly. She then calmed him, saying she was surprised that he could make potions in such a simple environment. Next, she asked to see what he had prepared. So he handed over the box, thinking she would take it from him anyway. After opening the container, the woman praised him for creating dragon strength perfectly in such poor conditions. He was shocked by the praise and wondered if she was really being serious. Rosweiss said that he could keep the medicine, but warned that it couldn't be consumed right now. Desperate, the young man asked why it was forbidden. Then she explained that the effect was too strong for a human body, making him wonder if the medicine was truly that powerful. The queen stated that she was saying this for his own good because a human wouldn't withstand the effect. Indignant, he declared that he had already defeated countless dragons and accused her of underestimating him. Completely ignoring the warning, he put the pill in his mouth. Immediately, he declared that courage is the anthem of humanity, while Rosweiss screamed his name in despair. At that very moment, he felt the pill's power surge through his body. Thus, the warrior ran to him and scolded him, warning that she wasn't good with healing magic. Then she held him and said she would try to break the medicine's effect first. Even in pain, he struggled while she shouted for him not to move. With his body crackling with energy, he stared at the Valkyrie and declared that this was human courage. Under the rain, a large amount of energy gathered around the palace. Suddenly, the young man screamed as blue lightning completely surrounded his body. Frightened, the queen wondered what he was doing using lightning magic on himself. Still, he simply endured the pain as the electric energy continued to flow. Soon after, he lost consciousness, and she caught him before he could hit the bed. With the young man lying down, Rosweiss asked if he had completely lost his mind. Then she turned away, saying she would wait and call the palace doctor. However, her hand was grabbed before she could step away. The Valkyrie looked back, surprised by the sudden gesture. In an instant, he grabbed her tail with a dazed smile. Irritated, she demanded to know what he was doing now. With a happy expression, he called her his wife and asked where she thought she was going. Completely shocked, she questioned who he was calling by that title. As she demanded that he let go, he refused to let his wife leave. Seeing him persist, the warrior wondered if the lightning magic had caused mental confusion as a side effect. She concluded that even acting like an idiot, he didn't seem to be in danger. With his persistence, she finally gave in and asked what it was that he wanted so badly. The alchemist then replied with a smile that he wanted to have another child with his wife. The unexpected declaration left her completely speechless and visibly embarrassed. Even when she scolded him for not taking care of the children they already had, he insisted he wanted a third. To avoid further trouble, she decided it was better to keep playing along for now. Thus, Rosweiss agreed to have more children and even to visit his homeland when they were ready. As he celebrated, she thought that him acting spoiled was even more annoying than usual. Next, the bold man called her the best wife and leaned in to kiss her. The queen pushed him away, telling him not to take advantage while wondering when the medicine's effect would wear off. Soon after, she called him an idiot and punched him in the face. After knocking him out onto the bed, she sighed and admitted she couldn't help but hit him. Concerned, she leaned in and asked if he was okay. Suddenly, he woke up saying he felt a little strange. At that moment, the warrior panicked upon seeing a dark mark appear on his chest. She wondered how the dragon mark on his chest could have activated now. Then he firmly grabbed her shoulder. As he gently pushed her toward the bed, she asked what he thought he was doing, but the young man replied that he felt strange. Soon after, he described how his body felt too hot and his chest was pounding. The queen then realized that the dragon mark combined with the lightning had intensified his desire for vital energy. With that, he hugged her by the tail, saying that he loved her, making her think she wouldn't be able to stand it if this continued. Irritated, she pushed him away and shouted for him to get off since her tail was dragging on the floor. Suddenly, the alchemist paused and placed a finger on her lips. He changed his tone and told her she looked incredibly beautiful tonight. Surprised, she realized his attitude had shifted to an intensity that wouldn't take no for an answer. At that moment, she began to wonder if she was also unconsciously wanting the same thing. With a gentle voice, he asked if his wife could help him with this. Embarrassed, she finally agreed, but warned that it would only be for tonight. In an instant, the two shared an intimate and silent moment, united by the storm outside. The next morning, the sun shone over the palace. Leon finally woke up, feeling the effects of the previous night. Beside him, Rosweiss watched and asked if he was already awake. Completely startled, he moved away and asked what she was doing there. Then he sat up, complaining that his whole body was sore. As he tried to understand what happened, she asked if he didn't remember anything. With a teasing smile, she showed him the marks on his back, saying that a dragon hunter shouldn't forget such things. Shocked, he wondered if he was really the one responsible for those bite marks. Suddenly, flashes of the previous night flooded his mind. With a full memory of the events, Leon screamed in embarrassment. She then asked if he now remembered how he had begged her last night. As he continued panicking, Rosweiss began repeating the words he had said. Desperate, the alchemist interrupted her, saying there was no need to continue, as he already remembered everything. He reflected that he had created the elixir to improve his health, but hadn't imagined the effect would be so extreme. Leon admitted he had overdone it and asked if he had hurt her, but she assured him she was fine. With a smile, he stated that now she knew his body well and could no longer claim he couldn't handle it. Rosweiss simply stared at him with an intense expression. Then she came closer and he asked what was wrong. She grabbed his chin, praising his performance and saying she expected him to keep it up. Indignant at the comment, Leon asked if he had now become her servant. Changing the subject, she mentioned the bet they had made about the treatments. She then admitted defeat and asked if he had already thought about what he wanted as a reward. Leon replied with a sly smile that he had already decided. Then he asked her to send someone to check on his master master and his master's wife in the empire. Rosweiss explained that a visit was possible, leaving him deeply grateful for the help. Soon after, he composed himself and thanked her more formally. Elsewhere, in the garden of the Silver Dragon Sanctuary, Moon approached and asked if her father was sick. Surprised, Leon denied it and wanted to know why she was asking. Moon then revealed that her mother told her it was he who took the medicine, and that men couldn't say they were sick. He became furious, questioning how Rosweiss could say such things to a child and reflecting on his dignity. While the little one kept insisting on knowing if he was still sick, Leon scolded her and ended up biting his lip, making it bleed. Seeing the blood, Moon panicked and begged him not to die, saying she couldn't live without him. Liam calmed her, assuring her that he was fine, while thinking that she really reminded him of her mother, especially in her bluntness. To distract her, he offered to make a new toy, and Moon excitedly celebrated the idea. With that, Leon began assembling a small colorful cube with his tools. Then he presented the magic cube and explained that she could turn its parts however she wanted, leaving the girl thrilled. He reflected that he had never thought of using his mechanical skills to care for children and wondered if he had a knack for it. Suddenly, his expression changed as he sensed something unexpected in the air. Immediately, he looked carefully toward the garden. Moon asked what it was, but he brushed it off, saying it was nothing. In his thoughts, he remembered feeling for a moment the gaze of a dragon coming from the direction where Noah usually trained. Knowing that she probably wouldn't want to approach, he decided to make a toy for the older girl as well. Later, Noah peeked through the bedroom door while Moon was already asleep. On the table, she found a magic cube with a note from Leon, challenging her to try to solve the puzzle. The girl held the cube, claiming she didn't care about childish toys. Even so, she began to turn the pieces with curiosity. Soon after, Noah hugged the gift with a smile and silently thanked her father. Although St. Heath Academy is a school of nobility with strict standards for dragons, a student's family is an important evaluation criterion. For this reason, to maintain the illusion of a united family, Rosweiss brings everyone to the floating city. As soon as they arrive at their destination, the woman lands in her majestic dragon form. Then Leon approaches and says he will help Moon get down slowly. While he holds her, the girl asks why he didn't transform into a dragon too. At that moment, he awkwardly thinks that he's great at killing dragons, but not at becoming one. Soon after, Noah suspiciously asks if he really can't do it. Faced with the question, the man is completely speechless. So Rosweiss explains that his body still hasn't recovered enough to take on dragon form. Moved, Moon asks her father to get better soon, and he promises to try, though he thinks it's impossible. With the moment behind them, the family heads toward the city gates. Enchanted by the sight of so many dragons, the girl gets excited, but her sister tells her not to walk so fast. At that moment, Leon starts to visibly tremble. Noticing his reaction, Rosweiss comments that it's the first time he's seen so many dragons since he woke up. With a teasing smile, she asks if he's afraid. However, he denies it and says that, in fact, he's very excited. His eyes shine as he thinks that the streets are full of prizes and that he's going to get rich. In this way, the woman realizes that she worried for nothing, while he's already calculating his profits. Soon after, the bell of a photo studio door rings. An attendant welcomes them, greeting the Silver Dragon Queen and her family. As they enter, Moon excitedly points to the many dragon photos on the wall. Curious, Leon then asks why Rosweiss had to come in person, since kings command their own clans. After hearing her explanation, he teases her by saying that her title isn't worth that much. Irritated, the queen kicks him with the tip of her shoe. As he crouches in pain, she says her title is still higher than his. The photographer comments that it's an honor, and Rosweiss says they were lucky to get an appointment with her. Then the woman asks about Leon's tail, but his companion requests a suit without room for it. She remembers how he once refused to wear tail decorations, claiming it hurt his dignity. Back to the present, the photographer guides them to try on their outfits, and Moon celebrates that she'll wear a pretty dress. Sometime later, the girl and Noah appear in their new dresses. Right after, Leon shows up wearing an elegant white suit. Delighted, Moon immediately praises her father, saying he looks very handsome. The photographer comments that the suit suits him well, and the man recalls that the last time he wore one was at graduation. With a smile, he turns and asks Noah's opinion. Embarrassed, the girl agrees that he looks handsome. He then compliments his daughter's dresses, saying they look adorable too. At that moment, the curtain of the nearby fitting room opens. As soon as Rosweiss appears in a black dress, Moon exclaims that Mom looks beautiful. Seeing her, Leon is surprised and completely speechless. When she asks what's wrong, he awkwardly replies that the dress suits her. The woman suggests that he would look better with a tail, but the man immediately refuses the idea. Soon the girls call their parents, asking them to come quickly. Faced with this, the photographer announces that it's time for the photo and asks the couple to come closer. Reluctantly, the two move closer for the photograph. The photographer then asks them both to smile and begins the countdown for the picture. Soon, the family photos are revealed, showing all of them posing together. Upon seeing the images, the professional praises the couple, saying they really look like they belong together. Finally, the photographer informed them that the photos would take 6 hours and suggested the family enjoy a stroll through the city. As they left, everyone everyone said goodbye to the photographer at the studio door. While walking down the street, Moon called her sister over to look at a stall. Surprised, Rosweiss commented that she was going shopping with her partner, who explained that it was to relax before Noah's test. Soon, the girls became enchanted with the prizes at a game booth. Suddenly, a nearby noise startled the couple. The booth owner encouraged the children, saying they could hit the target if they kept trying. Observing, Leon noticed there were shooting games at the booth, and Moon excitedly called for him. After seeing Noah lose, he thought that the game was designed so the owner would always make money. Rosweiss then explained that the game was difficult for the girl because it used traces of magical energy. At that moment, the owner offered the couple a chance to play and win a teddy bear for their daughters. Faced with this, the hunter turned and asked the girls if they really wanted the prize. The two vehemently denied it, but he understood that their answer actually meant yes. Without hesitation, he asked for 10 shots from the owner, warning that Rosweiss would be the one paying. Holding the gun, he thanked her and commented that he hadn't held one since Hunter Academy. With a quick shot, he hit the target dead center. Meanwhile, the booth owner thought he had adjusted the gun so that no one could win. To his surprise, all the targets were hit in a perfect sequence. Liam celebrated his own luck, while the man muttered that it was impossible. New shouted that her dad was amazing, and his companion admitted that he wasn't half bad. The owner then handed over the prize to the winner, who thanked him with a victorious smile. Then, he gave the teddy bears to his daughters, who thanked him excitedly. Rosweiss watched the scene and thought that when he truly dedicated himself, he had a certain charm. Soon, the young man noticed her gaze and wondered why she was staring at him. Nearby, a little girl asked her mother for a teddy bear too. Shortly after, Rosweiss found herself holding a giant teddy bear in surprise. Seeing the scene, Leon laughed at the vendor's frustration and, excited, asked the boss for 10 more shots. Despite a warning not to waste time, he replied that he was there to have fun with his daughters. The hunter asked if she didn't like it, and the woman replied that she didn't want one, but he insisted that he couldn't leave her empty-handed. Even though she thought the bears were useless, she admitted to herself that they were cute. Holding a teddy bear, Rosweiss asked him to come to her room after dinner. With the unexpected invitation, Leon was completely shocked. Later, the castle lit up, setting the stage for the encounter. As he walked down the corridor, he concluded that he had been summoned for an intimate moment. Even so, he pondered that if he went, he would suffer for a night, but if he didn't, the suffering would last all week. Determined, he decided to face her and ran toward the bedroom door. To his surprise, he noticed the door was unlocked. Cautiously, he entered the room and called for Rosweiss. Upon hearing the sound of water coming from the bathroom, he deduced that she was taking a bath. Looking at the door, he noticed her silhouette through the glass. With his heart racing, he convinced himself that they were really going to have a night together. Then he tried to compose himself to control his own anxiety. Soon after, he peeked curiously as the bathroom door opened. Rosweiss then appeared wearing a nightgown and invited him to begin. Desperate, Leon realized that she planned to drain all of his energy again. Right at the start, Rosweiss asked Leon whether he preferred to do it in the living room or on the balcony. In response, he said that the balcony would be embarrassing if someone saw them. With that, she agreed on the living room, stating that the place didn't matter. Liam then closed his eyes and took a deep breath, preparing himself for whatever was coming. Next, he shouted that he was ready to begin. Suddenly, he threw himself onto the sofa, making her question what he was doing. Lying down, the hunter asked in confusion if this wasn't what she wanted. Rosweiss then teased him, saying that he certainly seemed eager, but it would have to wait for another time. As he sat up, he asked what the scroll she was holding was. She revealed that it was St. Hit's Academy's test to assess the couple's habits and personality. She then explained that they needed to align their answers to avoid harming Noah's evaluation. Leon read the paper and questioned whether this wasn't just a silly compatibility game for couples. He then asked what her favorite color was, and while Rosweiss answered black, he said his was silver. Afterward, they exchanged papers to check their answers. Immediately, they both exclaimed in embarrassment that it was all just a coincidence. The woman then suggested they test how much they knew about each other, and he agreed. A short time later, Leon announced that he had already finished his part of the test. When they compared results, he boasted that his score was higher than hers. In her thoughts, Rosweiss was impressed by the details he got right, such as the comfort of her tail. However, she noticed that his mistakes were only when he tried to guess her thoughts. For that reason, she reflected that the mistakes were normal since she never opened up to anyone. Given the situation, she considered that maybe she could open up a little more to her partner. Meanwhile, he noticed that she was staring at him and wondered if it was because of anger over the score. To break the silence, he laughed and reassured her, saying it was hard to get a high score with so little time spent together. Right after, he stated that for Noah's sake, they needed to try to understand each other a bit more. Upon hearing this, Rosweiss was completely flustered. Next, she hit him and told him to stop stalling and write down the correct answers already. Then they argued about the answer to the disappointment question, with her expecting him to use his dragon strength another time. A week later, Leon celebrated their new average while Rosweiss slept in his lap. Satisfied with the result, he then said goodbye so he could leave. As he stood up, she grabbed his clothes and asked him to wait. Then she invited him to take a bath in her bathtub before leaving. Liam then asked, surprised, if she really wanted him to bathe in her room. Without giving him time to think, Rosweiss pushed him toward the bathroom, telling him to go already. In the bathroom, he wondered why she was so insistent, and whether she was planning something. However, he concluded that she was probably just tense because of the test. With that, he decided to simply enjoy the moment and got into the bathtub. Soon after, he relaxed in the hot water, thinking it felt great. Suddenly, he was startled to see Ross Weiss entering the bathroom, wearing only a towel. She approached and said she had accumulated a lot of stress and wanted to relieve it now. Upon hearing that, he thought to himself that he already knew this was going to happen. Soon, he shouted for her to find another way to relieve her tension and not dump it on him. With a smile, Ross Weiss replied that transferring the stress onto him was the only way to relax. As she entered the bathtub, she teased him, asking if he hadn't come there with the same thought. Faced with the question, Leon had nothing to say and admitted that he had no arguments. Finally, she warned him that he wouldn't escape and should surrender to his fate. At last, the day of the entrance exam at St. Hist Academy arrived. Upon arriving, Leon was impressed by the grandeur of the place. Standing at the entrance, he and Ross Weiss grew serious for a moment. Then the hunter quietly teased her about the stress therapy from the night before. Irritated, his companion cursed him softly, but he just laughed and called her to go inside. Once inside, they both observed the crests of the great families. Soon, a receptionist called for No Cosmo Melkway from the Silver Dragon tribe. The woman was surprised when she checked her clipboard and confirmed that the girl was only 1 year and 3 months old. Faced with this, Leon asked if there was a problem, but the receptionist said she was just a little surprised. She explained that although the minimum age was 1 year, most dragon hatchlings enter between 4 and 6 years old. Ross Weiss then stepped in, stating that their daughter was smart and that they respected her decision. With that, the staff member directed them to the family evaluation on the 4th floor, while Noah went on to take her test. They arrived at the meeting room located on the indicated floor. There, the couple sat on a sofa to wait with 3 other people. In a low voice, Ross Weiss asked if he thought the others would be easy to deal with. Leon whispered back that they looked easy to defeat, and that his former self would beat them in 50 moves. As the others noticed their presence, he whispered angrily that he would go after them all if they failed Noah. Then, a man introduced himself as Vice Principal Walter Wilson, in charge of the parental evaluation. Both responded with a smile, although the hunter suspected the evaluator might cause trouble. The vice principal then began by asking when their wedding anniversary was. Hearing the question, the two looked at each other tensely, as it was precisely the question they feared the most. In a flashback, Ross Weiss worried about how to answer since they weren't actually married, and Leon suggested using a memorable date. She then began to recite the agreed-upon date, the year 1733 of the creation era. Together, they answered with a smile that it was on May 25th, the day they met in the dungeon. The vice principal commented on how fast the marriage and pregnancy happened, and the hunter made up a story about love at first sight. Then the evaluator asked if they had discovered any flaws or bad habits in each other. To sound more convincing, Leon said yes, while Ross Weiss said no, as they had agreed. Pressed to explain, Leon began to say that sometimes he felt he wasn't very important at home. Even so, he continued, praising Ross Weiss for being highly efficient and taking care of everything perfectly. However, he admitted that she built up stress, and that he wished to help more, finishing with a mental plea for her to stop taking it out on him. During the interview, the lady asked the dragoness what her husband's most charming qualities were. Ross Weiss then described him as handsome, intelligent, and responsible, listing several of his traits. He listened with a forced smile, not knowing whether he was being genuinely praised or just mocked. Then she took his hand and told him not to overdo things. Moments later, she squeezed tightly, making him feel a bit of pain. Seeing the scene, the interviewers concluded that the two were a deeply in-love couple. The interview continued in a pleasant atmosphere among everyone in the room. To finish, the evaluator proposed that they ask each other one final question. Ross Weiss smiled and said she had no questions, as she already knew everything about her partner. Then the evaluator turned to the hunter, who wondered how to end the evaluation quickly. Leon surprised everyone by asking if she liked the teddy bear he had given her. The unexpected question left Ross Weiss confused, not understanding his reason for asking it. With her flushed face, she timidly admitted that she liked the gift very much. Satisfied, he smiled and said he had no more questions to ask. Thus, the evaluator concluded the assessment and thanked the couple for their cooperation. A few days later, a messenger dragon flew in through the window and Mew announced that the message had arrived. Anxiously, everyone gathered around the table as Leon prepared to open the scroll. The letter revealed that Noah had passed the evaluation and should attend the admission ceremony. As the sisters celebrated her success, the parents looked at the result in surprise. Then Mew hugged her sister, saying that she and their parents were amazing. Ross Weiss thanked her partner, but he replied that there was no need, as Noah had done it all herself and was his daughter. With a smile, the woman announced a banquet and said he would help so he wouldn't feel unimportant, making him call her petty and spiteful. And so the day of the entrance ceremony at St. Hist Academy finally arrived. On stage, the headmaster welcomed the new students, congratulating them on their acceptance. Meanwhile, The audience of families and students listened attentively to the speech. Soon, the headmaster announced that the first-ranked student, Noah and her family would come up on stage. Excited, Myun cheered when she learned that her parents and sister would be giving a speech. Then Leon, Rossweiss, and little Noah walked toward the podium. On the way, the father recalled how, an hour ago, he had been informed about the unexpected speech. Once on stage, he accepted that he had no choice but to face the sudden situation. The headmaster then asked the student if she had any advice or feelings she wanted to share. At first, the girl said that her mother, a powerful dragon, always supported and inspired her to be strong. Then she thanked her sister for always being by her side, making Myun very happy. Curious, the man wondered if his daughter would mention him in her speech too. Lastly, the young girl thanked her father, who had stayed up countless nights to help her study. Hearing her words, he was visibly moved. The speaker then ended her speech with a simple word of thanks. Afterward, the headmaster suggested that Leon kiss Noah to show his fatherly love. Panicking, the man wondered if the headmaster wanted to turn the ceremony into his execution. In his mind, he remembered that just a month ago, the girl wouldn't even let him touch her. Whispering, he suggested they could just hug to avoid too much effort. However, the girl insisted that he kiss her already and get it over with. Surprised by her response, the father was shocked for a moment. Since she insisted, he then kissed her on the forehead. In the audience, Myun shouted that she wanted to kiss her sister too, but the maid stopped her from running up. Beside them, Rossweiss was relieved that the suggestion hadn't been directed at her. With that, the headmaster praised the Melkavi family for showing what a true family relationship looked like. Right after, he asked how Liam could forget his wife after kissing his daughter. Irritated, the man thought that the headmaster had crossed the line, wishing he had confronted him during the evaluation. But looking at Noah, he concluded that he couldn't be shaken by something so small on such an important day. Then Leon turned to Rossweiss with a smile and reminded her that they were the most harmonious family. His wife whispered back, incredulous, but he replied that he had no choice with the girls watching them. Rossweiss wondered how her husband could stay so calm, since she herself was extremely nervous about getting close. Putting her embarrassment aside, she decided to just kiss him once and for all. But he simply gave her a quick kiss on the cheek and immediately stepped back. The unexpected gesture left her completely surprised and speechless. As she touched her face, she kept processing what had just happened. Liam turned to the audience and thanked them, even as the crowd asked for another kiss. Whispering to Rossweiss, he admitted that now he felt relieved. The woman realized she had been used and angrily thought she would make him pay if they weren't in public. The headmaster then thanked the family and dismissed them so they could rest. Outside, everyone said their goodbyes, and Rossweiss told her daughter that she would pick her up on the weekend. In a hug, Myun asked her sister not to forget about her, and Noah reassured her. Leon advised her to eat, study, and take care of herself, but the young girl replied that she was no longer a child. With that, he revealed that he was only passing on the advice his wife had been too shy to give. In a more serious tone, the father instructed her to fight back if she was ever bullied, assuring her that she would have his support. The girl asked if he had ever done that, and Leon explained that he always got beaten by her grandfather whenever he fought. But he reassured her, saying that unlike her grandfather, he wouldn't hit her over such things. Noah understood the lesson and clenched her fists, showing her determination. Later, in the office of the Queen of the Silver Dragon Temple, light filled the room. Meanwhile, Rossweiss was reading about the blood spell, a forbidden magic that sacrifices the caster's life. As she reflected, she realized that with a small modification, the spell could be turned into a useful resource. Suddenly, the door opened, and she was surprised to see that someone had already returned. Shirley, her trusted handmaiden, knelt and greeted her as Majesty. The sovereign then asked about the investigation, and Shirley regretfully reported that she hadn't found the whereabouts of Tiger Lawrence and his wife. Questioning their disappearance, Rossweiss was told that they had carefully erased their tracks. Faced with this, Rossweiss concluded that Leon's master didn't seem to be just a simple farmer as he claimed. For that reason, she ordered her servant to continue the investigation and report any new findings. Moments later, the hunter was attacking as he trained with a staff. He encouraged Little Moo to strike downward with all her strength. The girl then unleashed several movements at once, leaving her father surprised. From a distance, Rossweiss watched the two of them training. As soon as the girl saw her mother, she called out joyfully. The man then asked if she had finished patrolling, and the answer was yes. Next, Rossweiss asked if her daughter had behaved well with her father, and the child confirmed that she had been very obedient. Soon after, she announced that they would have steak for dinner and told the girl to change her clothes first. Noon was very excited because she loved steak. Quickly, the maid took her away, while the little one left singing happily about dinner. After the child left, the queen turned to speak with her husband. Suddenly, he pointed the branch she had been using for training at her face. She then asked if he had finally decided to attack her, reminding him that would be treason. Liam replied that it was just a branch and questioned whether she seriously called that a weapon. Even so, the woman countered that in his hands as the strongest hunter, even a branch would be a deadly weapon. The man simply turned his face and sighed in response. Soon after, he asked her to give him a proper compliment without sarcasm, but her response was a flat refusal. Admitting his intention, he said he just wanted to scare her, while Rossweiss doubted that a branch could hurt her in her current state. At another moment, she mentioned that Noah had written a letter saying everything was fine at the academy. Liam thought that wasn't much, but his companion explained that it was rare for their daughter to write to reassure them. With that, he agreed and commented that in that way the girl was very much like her mother. Rossways gave him a serious look, about to say something. Then she commented that despite his serious face, he was kind and that their daughter admired him greatly for his strength. She explained that in the girl's mind, he was like an exemplary student she needed to surpass at the academy. Liam smiled with relief, as until then, he thought his daughter only saw him as a weak bookworm. With that, Rossways revealed that Noah often visited him when he was unconscious, and he laughed at her stubbornness. She continued, remembering that when their daughters were babies, only their father could calm them down. The memory showed Leon sleeping peacefully with the two little ones by his side. Even so, he admitted that the idea of blood ties still felt somewhat distant to him. Soon after, he recalled his childhood as an orphan, never understanding what a family truly was. At age 5, his master and the master's wife adopted him, treating him like a son. For the first time, he had the idea of a home, though sometimes he felt a void when he saw their families. At that time, he believed everything would be perfect if his masters were his real parents. His master then comforted him, saying that in the future, he would become a father too. She explained that there would be people for him to love and protect, a family united by bonds of blood. With that memory, Leon reinforced his resolve, understanding that they were his most precious family. Rossways pulled him from his thoughts, saying it was time to go home. He thanked her for the information and suggested they move on. Then the woman moved her foot toward her shoe on the floor. Seeing his hesitation, she asked him to help her put on her shoes as a form of gratitude. Liam was completely confused by such an unexpected request. Despite Rossways' insistence, Leon refused to help her put on her shoes. He complained that washing her feet had already been humiliating enough, and he didn't intend to lose his dignity further. The queen then kicked him in the face, reminding him that he still owed her for the kiss during the ceremony. Firmly, she ordered him to stop whining and finish quickly so they could leave. With no other choice, Leon agreed to help and began putting on her shoe. Rossways commented that his body obeyed quickly, but he grumbled that the task was difficult. The comparison made his wife furious at the remark. In an instant, she attacked him, trying to knock him to the floor. Leon then started running, saying that she wouldn't catch him, but Rossways chased him down furiously. Days later, Mune excitedly announced someone's arrival to her parents. Soon after, a huge dragon descended from the skies before them. The hunter noticed that the Leviathan dragon was much larger than Rossways in her dragon form. Even so, she explained that despite its size, the Leviathan was weak in combat and had a calm temperament. While he questioned the creature's nature, she explained that the academy used it to transport hatchlings. Immediately, a beam of blue light enveloped Noah and lifted her off the ground. From within the light, the girl said she was returning to her mother. Rossways welcomed her back while Mune hugged her sister warmly, having missed her. Soon after, Noah hesitated as she tried to call Leon father, and he commented that she still wasn't used to it. As they walked, a man said that he and his wife had prepared plenty of food for her. On the table, Noah's report cards showed perfect scores and first place in various subjects. The queen smiled proudly while Mune looked at the results, impressed. Noah then handed over a paper and apologized for not taking first place in the physical aptitude test. Her mother comforted her, saying there was no need to apologize, while her sister insisted that she was the best. Seeing the scene, Leon thought he needed to step in, as one daughter couldn't express herself well and the other exaggerated. So he analyzed the test and said it was normal for her to have less endurance than older dragons. He then pointed out on the paper that she had the highest win rate in the class, excelling in strategy. Noah whispered that she heard her mother always had perfect scores in school. To reassure her, Leon revealed that he wasn't first in his class when he started either, but got there through hard work. He encouraged her not to get discouraged, knowing she could do even better, and Mune agreed. Mune then asked who would win if their father, being so strong, fought against their mother, leaving both parents surprised. Simultaneously, the couple confidently answered that they would win the fight. Immediately afterward, they glared at each other, questioning each other's answer. Leon bragged that no one could beat him in combat training, clearly claiming to be the strongest. With disdain, Rossways stated that she would defeat him no matter what, even if he had won more awards. The hunter teased that she married him because she lost to him, but his wife retorted that it was the other way around, and that's why they had children. With that, he challenged her to settle the dispute outside, something he had wanted for a long time. As Mune asked if they were going to fight, Noah decided that they should follow and watch them. Soon after, the couple stretched in preparation for battle while the daughters watched, seated nearby. Mune expressed her curiosity about who would win, and her sister explained that watching veterans train improved their skills. Rossways then teased her husband, questioning if his body had recovered enough for a fight. Leon replied that he didn't care, as it was a rare chance to fight the Silver Dragon Queen. Seeing her partner's determination, Rossways suggested they make a bet, leaving him curious. She proposed that if he won, she wouldn't touch him for a month, but if she won, he would grant her a wish. The hunter thought for a moment, considering the possibility of winning the bet. He immediately imagined that he could take a month of vacation, something normally unthinkable. Excited by the possibility, Leon pointed at her and accepted the bet. Then the two stared at each other with challenging smiles, ready to begin the fight. Liam and Rossways took their positions in silence, facing each other. Meanwhile, Mune watched excitedly, eating popcorn from the bench. Suddenly, Her excitement made her cup of juice fall to the ground. The sudden noise startled the couple, interrupting their focus. While Moon lamented the spilled juice, Noah urged them to hurry up and start already. At her call, the hunter took the initiative and charged forward with a punch wrapped in blue energy. However, the queen blocked the blow with ease, using only one hand. Immediately, she counterattacked with a quick strike from her tail. Liam managed to dodge the attack with a backflip, barely escaping. Supporting himself on the ground with one hand, he launched himself into a new attack. He then delivered a powerful kick, which was blocked by the opponent's arm. Even though it was defended, the force of the strike pushed her back several meters. She concluded that she was at a disadvantage in close combat and needed some distance. Noticing her intention as she stepped back and unleashed magical energy, he kept a close watch. The woman then declared that the method didn't matter as long as she won while preparing a ranged attack. With that, Rosways unleashed a blast of energy, which the hunter dodged easily. Moon worried that her father might lose, but her sister explained that each one was using their best strategy. With that analysis, the younger girl concluded that their mother wasn't confident in close combat. Impressed, she praised her sister, who said she had learned it in class from the teacher. Soon after, Rosways challenged her partner to see if he could dodge her next attack. Amidst the magic, he replied that he was not only fast, but also very resilient. With a confident smile, the dragoness concentrated her energy for a stronger strike. Suddenly, Leon found himself surrounded by two massive waves of magic. A huge explosion of energy erupted where he had been standing. The smoke slowly cleared over the battlefield. Unexpectedly, he emerged from the dust, surrounded by lightning, saying the attack was way too slow. Rosways was shocked to realize that her husband had used lightning magic to strengthen his body. Determined, Leon shouted that no one was going to take away his well-earned month of vacation. Then he charged at high speed and attacked her magical defenses. Seeing the situation, she thought she needed to end the fight quickly because what he was doing was reckless. Noticing an opening in her guard, the hunter smiled with confidence. With that, he quickly closed in and swept her legs to throw her off balance. Caught by surprise by the unexpected move, Rosways lost her balance in midair. Moments later, Leon celebrated his victory with his fist raised. However, as he prepared for the final strike, he saw his partner falling backward. In a quick motion, he grabbed her arm to stop her fall. He then pulled her firmly, bringing her back close to him. Thus, Leon held her in his arms, bringing the battle to a halt. As the two stared at each other, embarrassed, she softly whispered his name. Suddenly, he panicked when he felt a dragon flame ignite in his chest. The man screamed in desperation, saying that it was burning him. Confused, he looked down, not understanding what had happened. Rosways then scolded him for getting distracted in the middle of the battle as the flame faded away. Soon after, the daughters approached, and Moon asked who had won the fight after all. Leon sighed and admitted that because he let his guard down, he lost. His wife admitted that he was strong for fighting without his equipment, but he boasted that he would beat her at full power. With a victorious smile, she reminded him that since he admitted defeat, he shouldn't forget their bet. Remembering the deal, he collapsed to the ground in despair, realizing he had forgotten that part. The girls then asked if their father had died, but Rosways reassured them, saying that he had just overdone it and would be fine soon. At night, in the children's room of the Silver Dragon's sanctuary, Leon said his goodbyes. He then asked Noah to take care of Moon and instructed the youngest to behave well. Soon after, he became emotional and expressed his concern about leaving his daughters alone. Noah questioned her father's drama, reminding him that it was just one night with their mother. Panicked, he replied that being tortured by his wife all night was far worse than an execution. At that, Moon cheerfully concluded that their mother was going to eat their father. She explained that she had read in a book that females eat males, while Leon worried about her delight in such an idea. At that moment, Rosways appeared and scolded him for saying such things to the girls. Right afterwards, she tucked them into bed and said she would only discuss interesting things with their father. As the daughters wondered what those interesting things could be, the adults gave vague and conflicting answers. Out of patience, Rosways dragged him away, saying that was enough, but he asked for a moment to say his last words. As he was dragged off, Leon shouted that he would always love his daughters, but Noah commented that adults were immature. In the room of the Queen of the Silver Dragons, 2 bottles of wine and glasses were prepared. She offered him a glass of wine, but he refused the drink. After his refusal, the woman stared silently at her own glass of wine. She questioned him, reminding him that he had promised to fulfill her request after losing the bet. Leon said he wasn't in the mood, as he thought he needed to stay sober to avoid being manipulated. Unexpectedly, Rosways confessed that, in fact, she had wanted him to win the fight. Confused by her revelation, he asked why she had wanted that. She explained that if he had won, he would have had a month to recover and maybe become more interesting. Suspicious, Leon then asked why she didn't simply surrender. As she approached him, the queen said that in the moment, she had an idea for a fun little game. Then, she began tilting her glass of wine. With a smile, she poured the wine onto her own body, saying that she loved the expression he made when he lost. Shocked and nervous, he asked what she was doing. Rosways then seductively ordered him to drink it all. He thought that the aroma of wine mixed with her perfume was a marvelous sight. For him, that moment became simply irresistible. On impulse, Leon leaned in and began drinking the wine directly from her body. The unexpected action made Rosweiss gasp in surprise. After he drank, she asked with a flushed face if it was good like that. With a smile, he replied that it clearly wasn't enough for her. Then Rosweiss ordered him to open his mouth. Immediately after, she bit her own lip, making it bleed. With that, the woman leaned over and let a drop of her blood fall into his mouth. Alarmed, the hunter realized that what he received in his mouth was blood. He then pushed her away and nervously asked what she thought she was doing. Feeling something strange, Leon accused her of casting a forbidden spell on him. She confirmed that it was the blood curse he was already familiar with. With that, the man's eyes began to glow intensely red. As he asked why, Rosweiss revealed that she had been bothered by the lingering sensation of the spell he had cast on her. Leon then asked her if she knew the price one had to pay for that spell. With a smile, she replied that she had modified the incantation to leave only the enchantment effect. Under the spell's influence, he said his body was burning and his mind was going blank. Rosweiss then touched his chest and confessed that she had always forced him to stay with her, even against his will. She then whispered that now she wanted him to obey and begged to stay with her. With a wicked laugh, the woman declared that the game was just beginning for her delicious prey, Leon. Hey everyone, did you enjoy this story? I really liked it. If you want to follow the next part, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. See you in the next story, guys.